that way. If we wanted to phase this in, do some kind of tiered phase in over a period of time, I think that is open for discussion as well tonight. I'll also say on the date, when it says the draft May 11, 2017, I really am not sure where that came from. The first draft I saw is actually dated June 2020, and I'm just flipping back and forth, eyeballing it, and I think that what I saw dated June 2020 is not really a whole lot different than what we have in front of us tonight. I somehow there must have been just some kind of typo passing this document around.
Okay.
Yeah, the working draft I'm working off from is June 27, 2020. I hadn't even noticed in your package that it was dated differently. I apologize.
There was a verbiage change, is why I was told from the last meeting that the attorneys reviewed in the last paragraph. And that was the only change to the document that I can recall.
Jenny, this has come since I've been on the commission. We've talked about revising these things. Can you remember just historically, because nothing's been done, obviously, from a historic standpoint? Can you add any information on that? Because I know we brought some and then it just sort of died. I think it was left to the building and it just sort of, can you add something to that?
Yes,
Go ahead.
I'm hearing two different things. Is everybody hearing two different people talking, or is it just me?
Just you.
Just you.
Just me. That explains a lot. Yes, sir. We did have those fees at one time. See, I'm hearing myself coming back. But no, sir, we did have them at one time. And then I believe when it was dated 1 year, I believe when a former building official was here, some of those fees were inadvertently left out and we didn't catch it.
Okay. I just know that this has come up before and I just remembered it. It's just sort of, what do you call it? Just sort of went away, faded away, or somehow it didn't, because we've talked about the fees before being way low. I mean, that's been a conversation since I've been on the commission, that we were basically losing money, even on general type of stuff, because we were fronting the money. They weren't having to do it. So I think the fees have got to come up. And then again, for me, it's sort of like, I agree with Nancy on the deal as far as the individuals. I could see maybe we could adjust those down a little bit to make it. Yeah, okay.
Commissioner Jameson and Jenny, interject with this with me. Some of the fees do arbitrarily look high, but advertising for like annexations and stuff like that, the cost has gone way up. For one property that we've recently just did, we have like $600 just in advertising fees, not counting attorney fees, not counting staff time, not counting legal research, not counting mail outs. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. Whether it's 5 acres or 500 acres, it's still the same list.
No
So
question.
in the document that we're looking at, it says that in addition to the fees established by this resolution, the applicant shall pay all legal advertising costs and the actual cost incurred by the city to have the applicant and supporting documents. So wouldn't that be in addition, the advertising costs? Jenny, am I reading this incorrectly?
I am having a really hard time because there's a lot of feedback. Everything you say, it gets repeated twice for some reason. And I'm having a hard time doing it. I'm trying to figure out what's going on.
So am I, Jenny.
Do you have the copy that was in the packet, this week's packet, or are you looking off the old copy?
The one that I have says May 24th, 2017.
Okay, yeah, the last paragraph pretty much covers everything. That's some of the stuff the city's going to do. There is some other additional charges in there as well, but that the cost of like the annexation, for instance, covers a good chunk of what we do. There'll be some additional fees and possibly some additional fees that'll be added on.
Yeah, Commissioner Lavin, if you read underneath the where it has the pricing, it says the first asterisk, advertising cost included.
Okay.
So that is part of the fee. So there's not an additional fee after that.
Okay, because down below that, it does say, additional fees retainer. And that clause about additional or shall pay all legal advertising costs.
And that relates to, as he was saying, Brian was saying earlier, if there's an issue and it doesn't fall, it falls under the retainer, and we have to do, say we have to do additional advertising, or something like that, that's where that would be, that part would be in that retainer.
So can I ask why we wouldn't change our fee structure to a fee schedule and have the applicants pay the advertising costs so that when they change, we're not constantly having to adjust our fees to accommodate that? Is that something that could be set up so that we're not having to look at this every couple of years when advertising rates increase?
Chief Gillingham, you want to comment on that and making sure there's certain things that we have to make sure are done? And if we, go ahead, if you want to.
I mean, we can, but when we discussed this, the thought, we didn't want it to get lost in translation or fall back in the same issue we have now where we have projects on the table that we weren't billing appropriately for. So we felt like setting it in the ordinance and doing it this way was the most appropriate way. And I believe Brian can interject on that a little bit as well. This is pretty much the industry norm. This is what everybody else around us is doing. Kind of go to keep it simple, to keep it a standardized deal, if you will.
Yeah, we had originally proposed that the applicants post signs and get the addresses. You all changed that, and I understand why. We were trying to pull some of the burden off the city. The trouble is when you have applicants doing things like posting signs, you have to assume they did it right, getting the addresses, make sure the addresses cover the radius of notification. And then you get into a problem of due process, and that if they haven't done it right, you end up re-advertising, going back. So I understand the city's position of taking back a number of those things under house. That way, if there's a mistake made, it's your mistake. And also in that first paragraph, sometimes, I mean, you have hired us now to do your on-call kind of planning activities. That will go away at some point in time when you staff back up. But there are certain things that you have to pay for professionals to come in. For example, in plat review, it's important to have a registered surveyor and mapper review those plats for consistency with Chapter 177. And unless you got somebody who's a registered surveyor or mapper on staff, you generally have to go out for that. And so we've incurred costs of doing that, about $2,000 or so a piece. And really that's a cost that should be ultimately borne by the applicant. And that's what this provides for.
Okay. Okay. I got a question here. Going back to, when you said the 10 cities, you said 10 cities in the state of Florida?
Yes, these are all, I'll briefly read them off for you if that's your
Okay.
pleasure.
Yes, please.
As I mentioned, Alachua County, Arcadia, Clewiston, Defuniak Springs, Feldsmere, Green Cove Springs, Inverness, Lake Alfred, Live Oak, and McClenny.
Okay. So what I was trying to get to, so that was about the same populations of High Springs?
That's correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some of them look a little bit smaller.
So some of them are smaller. I mean, but it's kind of a good mix, so you can get a range of costs.
Okay. Well, we do need the fees. I'm like Commissioner James said, we've been speaking about this for a very long time. And Rich, you were speaking maybe increasing it so much each year. Is that what I'm hearing you saying?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. I mean, that would be an option. to do a percentage increase year 1 and year 2. I'm not sure if that was the question, but that's what I was suggesting earlier. If some of these line items seem to be, you know, a little too much to bear in the eyes of the commission for certain applicants, we could phase it in if we want to do that.
Mm-hmm. And Jennifer, I'm not quite sure, you know, how much we don't lost over the years, but not charging. I'm quite sure you don't have an answer to that one.
Yeah, you don't want to answer. You don't want to answer.
Oh, it's not that bad, is it?
Oh, yeah, I can tell you, the way it's done now, without having a building official, we're kind of seeing a lot of the fees that we've lost. And I know just in advertising, we've lost $4,000.
That's from what period to what? From what period?
Just this
For
for
this-
this fiscal year.
For this, okay.
And I know like the annexations, I know, I think we had one of them, we had to advertise twice, and it was, and Angela, you remember probably better than I do. It was like $600, correct? Something like that.
Yes, they're around $600 per ad.
So what we're charging is not that much out of line. I know it's a big jump, but we have been losing money for years.
Mr. Tebow,
Yes, sir.
of these, the annexation less than 5 acres and then the one greater than 5, less than 10, are those predominantly private type things that people would do? Would there be any other things on here where it would be a private individual?
You know, the small annexations, and again, I've done some of your planning over the past several months. Those tend to be, I think, as one of the commissioners discussed, individuals or families doing that. So that would be one where I think individuals truly would be affected in from that perspective. You know, you can do what you want to. Well, first of all, obviously the commission has the authority to do whatever it pleases. I always should start to lead with that. The other one that might be individuals is the simple lot split. Currently you don't charge for a lot split. That one might be individuals. And then the other one might be your variance. Those would be the ones that, and I forget which commissioner pointed them out.
Where's
Down on the second
Okay.
page.
Yes,
So the other thing I'd like to see is maybe adjusting those things, but also some sort of hardship exemption clause. So if we've got someone who's got to split a lot so they can stay in their house, we have a way that we can help them. You know, whether it's they come before us and ask for it, whatever, because I know that happens, you know, they can sell the lot and then it allows them to stay in the house. And so I don't think those are going to be developers. I think those are going to be individuals. And, you know, I think we have to have the ability to do that, or staff has to have the ability to make that determination based on a case. And I don't see that they could do that given this schedule.
Rich, Scott, is there something in our current charter, something which allows the city manager to interject or intercede in something like this and change it? Because I know he has the authority at some point and then getting it from us, but would there be something in there that would give him the authority to come in and make an adjustment and then bring it to the board for approval?
Mr. Mayor, I do know that it would not be uncommon to have that process. I don't know if it's built into our charter. Of course, I'm going to look as soon as I'm done talking here, but it would not be uncommon to have some language in there to allow an applicant to come before, put it on the commission's agenda and ask for that exemption. And also defer to Mr. Teeple based on what he's observed potentially elsewhere, but we have definitely seen that in other municipalities on certain issues. Yes.
I've seen it as well, oftentimes in your more rural communities, your poorer communities, you'll see that as a possibility. Generally, their fees are very low anyhow. And it's usually done as a part of the enacting ordinance. The second part of it is that the only problem I see with that, and I'm not a lawyer and I'll defer to the attorney, but yeah, you got to have some equal treatment kind of, and without standards, what are the standards? I come before you and say, I don't have the money, or it's not fair. And how do you make that determination? And I don't have an answer for that without some kind of additional guidance, which is why it's generally problematic to do this.
Mr. Mayor, if nobody else is going to say something, I'll make a motion.
Yes, sir, go ahead, and then we can talk after that. It's neat.
Well, I would say we accept this with the following revisions. Annex S and less than 5 acres, the proposed application fee be reduced to $250. The annexation greater than 5 acres, less than 10 acres be reduced to $500. Certificate of appropriateness, the board be reduced to 100, kept at 100. And the lot split be reduced to 500. And the variance be reduced to 500. And a clause be included in, and Rich, you guys can figure out with Mr. Teeple, something like this. We've got something similar in the CRA for some other things where they can apply for hardship type stuff. So I would make the motion, we pass it with those revisions, and then a clause be included to address hardship application.
Okay, thank you,
Commissioner
sir.
Jameson, I think we have some sort of clause in the sewer impact fee. Am I correct?
You may be
Jennifer?
correct.
Hang on. No, I'm not on mute. Yes, we do. And we do it by the sliding scale based on poverty level.
Can we
So we
use
do-
that?
Yes, we can.
use that?
Yes, we can. And
Would
we
you
can,
be okay with that, Commissioner Jameson?
That's fine. I knew we had something. No, I just fine. I think it does need to be in there, but that does put in financial and so forth type of deal. So there would be criteria. It just wouldn't be a subjective type of deal. There would be data to basically base it on.
I will
I would agree
second
with-
that motion.
Okay, got a motion in a second. Only discussion I have is, now we always talk, you talked about all of them we had talked about. The only one you didn't mention was the conditional use permit. That one went from 100 to 500. Do we want to address that one also? We addressed all the rest of them, but we didn't address that one. Commissioner?
The conditional use permit can be a variety of things, and that one's hard to determine because it could be large or small. They have they have a large and a small, so I'm not sure why there's a separate line item for administrative on that one.
Your code allows certain conditional use permits to be administratively granted without further review by either the board or your planning commission. So I think that's the one. It's the one that staff can do.
So I would say on that one, then I would say to take that to the 250 that is similar to the annexation of less than 5 acres. Scott, does Commissioner Jameson, does that resonate with you?
Yeah, I would adjust my motion to add that into it.
Okay, I'll adjust my second.
Okay, thank
So
you.
that is the
So-
administrative, right?
Correct.
Right.
Okay.
So
I-
can someone give me an example of what kind of permit that would be, or give me an example of when this might happen?
I'm pretty familiar with your code, but I'm trying to remember some of these. Let me use an example in another city, for example, where you need to build a structure closer than the required side yard setbacks by a few inches because of site conditions. Something that minuscule can generally be approved by staff. Now, if you want a 5-foot difference in a 15-foot side yard setback, that's usually something that has to go to a higher authority. So it's those very small things generally that it's pretty simple, pretty straightforward, and probably a waste of a board's time to deal with.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Yes, sir.
All right, we got a motion and a second. Any other discussion on this? Any other questions? Okay. Ms. Jenny?
Mayor Williams,
Yes.
Vice Mayor James,
Yes.
Commissioner Jameson,
Yes.
Commissioner Jones,
Yes.
Commissioner Lavin.
Yes.
And I also sent out a note for if there was any public comment for people to raise their hand, and there was no one.
Okay, I'm sorry, actually, I'm sorry. Okay. Motion carries. Okay, moving to
when-
citizen.
Quick
Okay.
question, if you will, Ms. Mayor, when will this take effect?
Good question.
Monday morning.
8 o'clock or 7:30? I'd like to know, so I can get in there before.
7.
Rich, when is this gonna take effect?
It takes effect on Monday morning, but if I were you, I would get working on it this weekend and be ready. We'll walk in.
This is something, once we approve, it's immediate?
It is immediate.
There's
It's a resolution that's being passed tonight. It's effective, even though business is closed tomorrow, but that means
Okay.
first Monday morning.
Okay, so there's
Do we
no
need-
initiative, okay. That's good, thank you.
Do we need to correct it? Because on the resolution, it says effective on the first day of July. So will that be corrected in the resolution?
Yeah, we'll date it effective today when it was passed. I
Okay.
think that's probably because it was on the last agenda. That's probably, and it got
It was moved.
tabled at that time. So.
Yes, okay.
Do we have to change
Okay.
anything, Rich? Rich, do we have to change anything in the motion and the approval for the date?
I think it'd probably be worthwhile to have a quick motion made to add that the effective date is July 23rd, 2020.
I'll make that motion.
I'll
I'll
second.
Okay, got a motion and a second. I don't know who got it first, but
Nancy, give
All
it Nancy.
give it to Nancy. All righty. Any other questions on that effective date? Okay, and then
Okay, now is that me?
No, that's Byron.
Put the guitar away, Byron.
Hear me?
Jenny's getting paranoid.
Hello? I don't know.
You still there, Brian? Byron?
I don't lost everybody.
I hear him.
Barely.
I don't know what's going on. There y'all are now.
We can hear you a little bit. Yeah, there you go. We can hear you. We can't see you.
Because I don't have internet at my house. It's been down for the last month. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
We can
Yeah.
hear you. We can't see you.
Yeah. What
We
about you,
can't
Scott? Can
see
you hear me?
you, but we can hear you.
I don't know what's going on. I see you guys and I see myself.
Well, we can hear you.
I don't know what's going on.
There you are.
Oh,
We see you.
okay.
He's back.
Okay. I don't know what's going on here. Like I said, I don't have internet, so I'm working off my iPad tonight. It's time to get wooden windscreen. That's another story all by itself. Do we go on the last motion?
We
have-
do roll call on that. I think, yeah, we have a
I
first,
mean, the one for the effective date.
yes.
We did?
We
Yeah,
have,
we're good.
we have a motion and a second. We just haven't voted yet.
Okay,
Right.
that's the question. Okay, so all in favor, let me know by saying aye.
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 Do we have to do a,
Jenny
Roll
has
call.
the poll.
We don't need a roll call on just
You
the
don't need a
date.
roll.
Okay.
All right.
aye?
Okay, all opposed, same sign. Okay, motion carries. All right, so moving right on to citizen requests and comments not on the agenda. Please state your name for the record and limit your comments to 5 minutes. Anyone out there? Jenny?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Mr. Ambrose.
Can you see and hear me?
I can hear you.
Hear you.
Okay, thank you very much. Ross Ambrose, High Spring citizen, and as of today, candidate for city commission in the fall. So I wanted to bring up two things tonight real quickly. As you go into the budget process, we're looking for more revenue. And I continue to see revenues expected from Duke and Clay Electric. And actually 14 years ago, Mayor Williams signed a franchise agreement with GRU. And a number of years ago, they started bringing utilities into the city, but I don't see any revenue from their activities. And their franchise agreement was specifically for gas and does not necessarily talk about data. And they're running fiber cables to a number of businesses and locations. And I don't know whether the citizens are benefiting from the use of our public right-of-ways. So I know this has been brought up before. I don't know whether anything's ever happened, but why are we allowing them to continue to run utilities and we're not seeing any revenue from that? And they don't have an agreement outside of gas, as far as I can understand from looking at the franchise agreement. So that was my first thing to just throw out there as you move forward in the coming weeks with the budget process. The second one is really going to be something that will be dealt with when you're convened as a CRA organization, but I do think it affects the city in the fact that we now for 2 years have had taxes sold on the building that the CRA is in and rents to the building department. June 1st, the taxes were sold for 2019 to a company in Pasadena, California, and the 2018 taxes were sold to a company in Baltimore. So right now there's an obligation of almost $8,400 for people who have bought taxes. So whether there's a mistake or something, for some reason, the appraiser's office is assessing fees and nothing's being paid and notes are being sold. So I just think that should be addressed. And if it is going to be a cost to either the city or the CRA at some point, because we have to redeem those notes, then that's going to need to be included in the budget of either the CRA or the city. And that's all I had to say, and I appreciate your time.
All right, thank you. Anyone else?
I think there was another person here that wanted to speak to us that's running for office, some elected office.
Just a moment and I'll move her over. Don't see, so Ms. McGraw.
I am now. Good evening. Can you all hear me?
Yes,
I
ma'am.
do. Yes,
Okay.
we do.
All right. I'm Diane McGraw, and I am your candidate for the Alachua County
Yes.
Board. District 2, but everybody can vote for me countywide. I just wanted to take this opportunity to let you know that in Alachua County, our school system is on life support. We have to make sure every child in Alachua County can read. Right now, we've had an achievement gap for 45 to 49% for the last 5 years between white and Black children. 45% of our Latinx children cannot read and do math well, and 26% of our white students cannot read and do math well. And also in your surrounding counties, when I talk about High Springs all the way over to Hawthorne, only 60% of Caucasian children are performing well. Nobody's close to 100% as we need them to be in Alachua County. The other thing is, when you talk about reading, if a child cannot read, they're going to struggle in life. We must improve our reading skills district-wide, and also we must provide various options for children to feel they're going to be successful. I had the opportunity to go to college at Florida A&M University and get my master's degree in education, but everybody's not going to college, and that's okay. They can also be successful through CTE trade and more, and we have more various vocational programs. And it is extremely important that we bring about change. And you look at America, 81% of our companies are saying that they cannot get their jobs done and make their companies flourish like they need to, because the talent that is coming out of high school as well as college is not prepared as it used to be in the future, in the past. And we can do this if we bring about change in Alachua County. So my platform consists of improving reading skills district-wide. I want to put together a reading and comprehension skills task force. Also to put together a workforce development task force to partner. VPK through 3rd grade, we need to make sure every child is a solid reader. We need to be talking about conflict resolutions, manners. Then by 5th grade, we need to make sure we're assessing every child. They need the opportunity to either decide if they're going to college or if they're going on a career track. And then by the time they get to middle school, they're taking field trips. They're going places in the community, and they're getting exposure to understand, maybe I want to do this job. We may visit the fire department. We may visit the police department. We may visit a bank. And then by the time they get to high school, we should have internships and apprenticeships opportunities to make sure kids are employable and ready to go to work or to college when they graduate from Alachua County Public Schools. I want to share with you, I've been in Gainesville since '92, married to a teacher. And one of the things I have had the opportunity to do is get into entrepreneurship. And I want to provide the same opportunity to our children in Alachua County. And so I ask you for your support. Also, I'm an owner of Successful Living, where I work with developmental disabled intensive behavior group homes here in Alachua County. And I want to make sure we bring fun. After speaking with children, I want to make sure kids have the opportunity to think about school being fun. And right now, one of the most important things is our reopening plan, and our kids are really depressed right now. And so it's important that we turn this thing around safely so kids can eventually enter school. But when they enter school, we're going to have to look at education totally different. And so I ask for your support. I am the candidate that is running. My campaign slogan is committed to serve, and I have the courage to lead. And so again, I thank you for this opportunity, and I want you to remember me. August 3rd to the 15th is early voting, and August 18th is election day. Thank you for your time this evening.
Thank you. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
All right. Anyone else, Jenny?
No, sir. Nobody's raising their hand.
Good night. You all have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good luck. Okay, moving on to new business. Number one, the presentation overview of the proposed fiscal year 2020-21.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir.
Good evening, everyone. The revenues for the general fund is down, and based on the trend, We have a better idea of the state, from the state, how much money we're gonna get by the end of the month. And these are just talking points in the Avalon taxes. Avalon is budgeted at 5.88%. And we have some expenditures as well in this budget that health insurance is increased to 5.05%. Retirement is increased to 1.53%. Also, we have some proposed new positions such as PIO and the SRO part-time position at the police department to an administrative sergeant. And our facility worker was a part-time position for 30 hours. We want to make that a 40 hours due to the COVID-19 and the desanitization of the facilities, which is going to require more effort and more time to clean and desanitize not only City Hall, but all the buildings once we open it back up, if we ever do. The City Hall door swipes also in there, a limited capital outlay. No money budget to put in reserves, and very little contingency. So this is a tight year. This is overall just a review, and Ms. Jennifer and myself will be available for questions if you'd like.
Any questions of the city manager, Ms. Jennifer?
I would just like to ask if there's any way before we start these hearings, could we maybe get an update on the wells situation? Because that was something we looked at last year and directed to start moving forward. And I think there's been a change of plan, and we really need to have more update. And also, we've not seen any kind of 3 or 5 year plan on roads. You know, we have some serious infrastructure problems, and looking at these budget numbers, it's hard when there's not any kind of plan with some of those roads identified. How do we do this? So if we could possibly get some of that information to go along with this, it would make it easier for us to, or at least for me, I shouldn't talk for anybody else, for me to look at the long range planning. And I know we're coming out of an unprecedented period, but we still have to look ahead to the long range plans. So those are 2 things that I'm concerned about at this point. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir.
No, go ahead. Somebody else? No? Do the PIO again. Explain to me that again, the PIO position.
That's the position with Kevin that assisted us during this difficult time for the website, IT within the different offices, like looking up the printers and things like that that won't be charged to Eric to help with the budget as far as not being charged. He's also going to help with disseminating information, work on the website, and that'll be something that come out of my budget, meaning the city manager's budget in conjunction with the fire department. He will also do codes, not strictly PIO. It's codes, not codes, but the inspections as well with the fire department to assist with that. He's, if I'm not mistaken, is certified in providing inspections throughout the city for businesses and things of that nature.
Okay, so let me say this. I don't have the budget in front of me because I didn't get it today, and I'm at work, so I can't access anything. So I'm not looking at anything. I really need it for me personally before, because I can't access anything during the day. And I got home like at about 6:20. So I don't have anything in front of me. I'm questioning whether, adding positions at this point in time. Adding positions, I'd have to look at it to see what the dollar amount is and so forth. Contingency money, Jennifer, explain to me again the contingency and the reserve, because I get those two mixed up. Would you explain those to me, please?
The reserves is the $75,000 transfer that we normally do.
And where is that at? Where is that at? The
Where-
total amount? What is the total?
Hang on, I've got a bank statement right here. I'd say hang on, give me 1 second. I believe it's like 650 or maybe a little bit higher than that. I am going to try to do it. I think it's right. It's in the 600,000s. And actually, I am going to still try to do it this year.
I can't hear you. Somebody's phone. I can't hear it.
Hold on, that's me. I got people here.
I am going to try to do it for this year and here.
Wait a minute. You're going to try to do it?
Remember, we talked about this because of the comp plan that that 123 that I'm just going to say this, I wish it had gone out to bid. But we're at 664,000 and change. So I am still trying to do the 75,000 this year.
What's in the contingency? What's in contingency?
Well, the contingency is something that we usually keep back about $100,000 this year, every year. So this year, if you remember that we may have to, because of sewer, remember the cracked, and I'm not sure what that thing is called, but on the sewer plant, $92,000 that we had to get repaired. Do we remember that? And that was going to potentially come out of the contingency. So it's been a tough year for expenditures, and next year is going to be worse. And there has to be some decisions made on where we want to spend the money. I understand, Commissioner Lavin, where you're coming from, but there is only so much money. And so,
Well, I guess I'm asking on so far, there's only so much money. And there again, I don't have the budget in front of me. I don't have it. I question whether or not why we're adding positions. Somebody's gonna have to tell me from a dollar standpoint, we're adding positions and we don't know what the dollar amounts are gonna be. So I mean, that doesn't make sense to me.
that's
I'll wait somebody to tell me.
that's a $15 an hour position, the PIO.
I don't, that's not my point. You're telling me we don't have money and we're gonna add a position. So somebody's gonna have to explain to me, and next year is gonna be worse. And we're adding positions. That doesn't make sense to me. If somebody can explain it, I'm just trying to grasp it.
I'm going to tell you. Go ahead.
Where are we with the balance in the base rate with the water and sewer, the dollar? How much do we have in each one of those accounts?
The water and the sewer,
The water and sewer, we added $1 specifically for maintenance. How much are in each of those accounts?
off the top of my head, there is, and I don't have it right in front of me, and I didn't know that question. I can, before I say anything, let me get the exact number and I'll send it out because I don't want to misspeak.
Has anything been spent out of those accounts?
Well, we technically could take that sewer money because it's water and sewer. That's where the base rate. So technically that 92,000 really should be used with that maintenance.
Well, the sewer dollar rate for the sewer was the maintenance specifically for the grinder pumps.
Correct, but we also upped the repairs on those. Remember, if you look at this year's budget, we did up those to quite a bit and we have not spent that. I know you don't have it in front of you. I didn't know we were going to go into the budget tonight. Usually we just present.
Well, we don't have to go into it. I'm just asking these questions and I apologize on the deal. But then again, the dollar for the deal was specifically, as we go into it, was specifically to repair the grinder pumps. That's what it was for.
Well,
And
we,
so what we don't want to do is what government does is we have something allocated for a specific job and then we start siphoning money out for something else.
well, I
That's
can
not
tell
what it
you,
was for.
I know what you're saying. And we've, on grinder pump repairs, have overspent that dollar. I know that we're at $45,000 or $50,000 this year.
Okay, but we used the dollar that we had to go to that. You just, okay.
But I
Okay.
haven't transferred, I haven't specifically moved it, if that's what you're asking.
Well, then if we've spent it, then I don't know how we can spend it towards the $98,000
You mean the
for
92?
the repair, 92. How can we spend it for that if we've already spent it all on grinder?
Well, the reason why I was saying that is because we had budgeted the maintenance higher.
Okay,
So if you look at the prior year, if you look at grinder pump repairs, there's 75,000 budgeted, and that's why I was
Okay.
saying that.
okay. There again, I apologize. I don't have it here in front of me, so I apologize. That's my mistake. I appreciate you
no.
telling. Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Any other questions? Well, I don't know. One. Okay. Moving on to item number 2, consider resolutions 2020-F.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Resolution 2020-F, a resolution of the City of High Springs, Florida, determining the amount of and fixing the proposed rate of ad valorem taxation for fiscal year 2020/2021, providing for conflict, severability, and an effective date.
Yes. Yeah, pretty. Okay, any discussion? Yeah, if y'all can see, I'm being interrupted back here.
I think based on the
Okay.
conversation that was just happening about next year is going to be tougher, I think we have to be more realistic about our millage rate. And I think we need to look at taking the millage rate to 5.99. We continue to have to provide services, and we've had great deficits this year that we're not going to even know until next year. And I don't know that we are acting prudently if we go in at the millage that's on this paper.
You know, anyone else?
Mr. Mayor, the statute does require you to announce under the resolution, the millage rate is fixed at 5.88 mils, which is a 3.84 increase over the current rollback rate of 5.6628 mils. The other thing, Mr. Mayor, that is required is to announce when the budget hearing will be held, and that is Thursday, September 10th, 2020 at 6:30 p.m. at the High Springs Commission Chambers, 23718 West US Highway 27, High Springs, Florida.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, any other questions?
No, I'm not in position yet to, and I see where Nancy's coming from. I'm not in position yet to raise it. I still have concerns about what we're spending. And we don't know, it's going up. So the average person is going to see a 3.84% increase right now. If we don't change it, they're going to see that. So, I mean, I get it. And I know we got things going on and we need to raise more money. But I think in this time to sit there and go and add another burden at some point in time, we're gonna have to manage our money the way people are at home. So my first thought is I would say keep it at 588 and make it work. Mr. City Manager, and make it work. Figure out a way to make it work. Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah, so we definitely don't want to add a burden to the people.
Not right now.
Yeah,
Keep talking.
yeah, we can make it work, tweak this and cut this. And Jennifer, Mr. Manager, am I correct?
Yes, we can do this. Can't we, Jennifer?
We can try. That's what, that's,
We can do it.
I mean, I tend to agree. I mean, we are going up almost 4%. And, you know, I did pull some numbers just historically for the last 4 years. This will be the third year we've used 5.88. 17, 18, we used the 5.99, but that was the rollback rate. So, and that was at one point we were at well over 6.
Right.
So we've backed off and we've kept it consistent, except for, yes, the values have gone up and that's the difference. I don't know that 5.99 is going to make a whole lot more money, to be honest, but I can give you a real quick amount.
As you're looking that up, Jennifer, let me just interject on the deal. And the other part of this thing is, I mean, I'm looking at the times too, and I'm just saying, you know, you're going to sit there and we're going to turn around and we're going to raise. And I understand it. We've lost money, but to turn around now and raise it, and I think it's, you know, I think we got to roll up our sleeves just like every other household has had to do it. And everybody, I don't care where you're at, you've had to make adjustments, you've had to make breaks, you've had to do things. Well, we need to do the same thing. And I think we need to lead by example. So I say keep it. And I got confidence. I'm saying all this, and I hope I'm not being negative. I have confidence in Mrs. Corsi. I have confidence in Jennifer. It will be difficult. When I say get it done, I'm being facetious on the deal. It will be difficult. But I think it's something that we have to do, at least for the citizens on this one here, when everything else is going to go up. We got to give them a little bit of solitude someplace. Thank you.
And that 5.99 will bring in about $33,000.
It's money, but it's not that much money.
Yeah.
So,
Why don't I make the motion to approve the ordinance and then we can discuss it some more?
all right, thank you, ma'am.
I move that we approve resolution 2020-F.
I have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Oh, got a motion and a second. Okay, any more discussion? Any more discussion? Hey, I'm on the phone. Okay, I'm sorry, y'all. I got interruption here. I'm babysitting. Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, Jennifer. I hear nobody else saying anything.
I think we're ready to do a vote, I think.
Yes. Jen, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Are you ready for a roll call?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Vice Mayor Jones,
I'm sorry.
it's a roll call.
Yes.
Okay. Commissioner Jamison,
Yes.
Commissioner Jones,
Yes.
Commissioner Lavin,
Yes.
Mayor Williams.
Yes. Okay, motion carries. All right, moving on to item number 3. Consider resolution 2020-G.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Resolution number 2020-G, a resolution of the City Commission of the City of High Springs, Florida, amending the purchasing policy and procedures of the City of High Springs amending the competitive purchasing process, price thresholds, and approval requirements, repealing all resolutions and ordinances in conflict, providing for severability, and providing an effective date.
Okay, thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Commissioners? Anybody want to speak at once?
I have some questions on this. Under chapter 1, page 4, chapter 1, general policies, item 3. It's unclear the way that paragraph is worded, and my opinion is that the city manager should be our lead purchasing agent, and then he can delegate that responsibility to the director of finance or to whomever if we ever had a purchasing agent. So I think that needs to be looked at in that paragraph. The city manager is the authorized purchasing agent for the city with the commission's approval. It is the commission's responsibility to give leadership in all purchasing and contracting activities to the city, and then the city manager can delegate it. So that paragraph I had a problem with.
Which, I'm sorry.
Which?
Chapter 2, you said purchasing authority?
No, chapter 1, page 4.
All right.
Item number 3.
Number 3,
Roman numeral 3.
okay.
The paragraph implies that the director of finance is the authorized purchasing agent, and since we have no authority over, I mean, we don't direct the finance director, I believe the city manager should be the authorized purchasing agent, and he can delegate that to the finance director or to whomever. But I think that creates a problem or conflict down the road. I believe the city manager should be the authorized purchasing agent for the city. And then, you know, with the city commission's approval, the paragraph could remain the same. Later in here on different places, matter of fact, the next paragraph says the city manager may designate others to serve as purchasing agents. And then it clarifies the director of finance has the responsibility to issue regulations and procedures. So I think it's clear down there, but the paragraph above kind of insinuates that the director of the finance is the authorized purchasing agent, and we can't direct the director of finance. We can direct the city manager. So I wasn't comfortable with the way that was worded.
So when they say under the city manager's leadership, so Rich, I guess help me out with that one.
Well, I think what Commissioner Levin is suggesting is that perhaps it just should say that the city manager shall lead and is authorized as the purchasing agent, city manager, or designees of the city manager, I believe. So essentially shift it over so that it's the city manager's, it's within the city manager's purview. And if the city manager directs the director of finance to carry out, purchasing responsibilities, then that would be up to the city manager to do that. Commissioner Lavin, have I sort of articulated what you were suggesting there?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. So we could easily, that paragraph could easily be modified in that way. Just to make it clear that it's the city manager who shall lead and it's the authorized purchasing agent or designees of the city manager, whoever that may be, director of finance or perhaps other agents.
Well, in the next paragraph in Roman numeral 4, it says that, Rich. It says the city
Right.
manager may designate others. So I don't think it needs to be put in the paragraph above. The city manager would be the authorized purchasing agent, and then it addresses that he can designate others
Yes.
below.
Okay.
Correct? I mean,
That's right. Yes, I agree. We can just, paragraph 3 or Roman numeral 3 will just reference the city manager, and then paragraph or Roman numeral 4 be left as is.
okay. Under chapter 2, page 5, item D, there's a statement that says a copy of the award and the contract shall be retained by the finance department. How long do they need to retain that? Does that need to be spelled out in that document?
We have protocol for public, keeping how long we have to keep records. And Jenny is the steward of that. And so we always get with her before we destroy anything, if that's what you're asking.
Right, I just, I don't know if it needs to be spelled out, Rich, in this document. If this is an ordinance that we're passing, do we have to make reference to a statute or statutes or some particular time frame in the statute to make it clear?
We could write in there in accordance with the Florida public records laws. So that would whoever reads that would know, okay, we better talk to Jenny to make sure before we're throwing this away, that or writing it or shredding it or whatever, that's in accordance with our record keeping.
Okay, that would work. I just don't want it to be unclear. Then on page 6, well, the threshold amounts are concerning to me. I believe they're higher than what we had before. So I was just wondering how we got to this $25,000 for the city manager, $10,000 for the city clerk, $10,000 for the finance director, and $5,000 for department heads. Where did those numbers come from?
To be honest, in this day and time, right, currently they're $500 for department head. And to be quite honest, if you're a department head and all you can spend is $500 and we have a $10 million budget, you can't, your hands are tied. You have to go to the city manager, who in fact then has to go to the city commission for everything over $5,000 unless it's emergency. This is pretty standard word of amounts in other areas. Actually, I checked with Newberry and I think theirs is the same or maybe a little bit higher.
Rich, did you look at those numbers and comparative to any other city?
I do know they are very comparable to Newberry's. I know that the 25,000, as of a few months ago, I know the figure in Newberry is 25,000. I'm not aware of it going up. I know it hasn't gone down.
Okay. Because it's just such a jump from what our previous purchasing policy was, and I know that's an old policy, that it just, makes me uncomfortable. And the way it's worded on page 6 there, the city manager or designee shall have the authority to award and execute purchases of goods and services not to exceed 25,000. I don't know, should it say designee? Because who is he going to designate? The city clerk or the finance director, correct?
Yes, and if he is, not around, or it's emergency situations, which is later identified.
That and that language is actually consistent with the language we were talking about just a minute ago, Chapter 1, Roman numeral 4, where the city manager may designate others.
Okay.
Most likely, it's going to be the city clerk or the director of finance in most situations, presumably.
Well, I would like to propose, and I know that this may seem low to you based on standards, but the city manager maybe 25,000, the city clerk and the finance director 5,000, department heads 2,500. I just would feel more comfortable with that, because then the city manager can make a decision up to the 25,000, but that, he's involved in those processes. If there's anything above that at a level below him, that's just my opinion. And I'm a sole proprietor and I love to have control on things. So I'll give you that perspective.
Mayor,
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Lavin, was that all you wanted to speak about to this document before I?
No, I have some other things in the document. Did you?
Well, I'll just speak to what you were talking about. I understand that those are large amounts, but I believe that based on other, evidently it's been researched, that we should leave it as is in the document. That's all.
Okay,
Got
thank you.
comments, and Nancy, go ahead and finish what you were gonna do, and then I'll comment.
Right.
Right. When we get to page 7, and this is a question for Jennifer, expensing of invoices. I know that sometimes the posting doesn't happen until a different fiscal year. The purchase happens one year or the expensing is incurred and it doesn't get posted till the next year because of when invoices come in. Is that common? How often does that happen?
That very rarely happens.
Okay.
Very rarely. We're on what's called accrual basis, and that means it doesn't matter when the invoice comes in, unless we've already been audited. It would go, our year end is 9/30. Everything up to the day we get audited goes back to that. But once we get audited, of course, we can't go back and change an audit.
Okay. All right. Then on page 26, I'm sorry, page 9. The first paragraph or partial paragraph says the director of finance shall have the authority to find requisitions at 15,000 in the city manager's absence. And if neither are available, the city clerk will have the authority to approve. I don't understand that versus the 10,000 that was on this previous page with the numbers. And then it says that the city manager can raise the director of finance or city clerk's purchasing limit if he's absent. So that's the being designated.
That's being designated. So the difference in that is in the day-to-day, the city clerk and the finance director have the 10,000, but in the absence of the city manager, he authorizes either the city clerk or the finance director to up to 15,000 in his absence if something comes up. That's the difference. One is when he's there and one is when he's gone, or she.
So when the city manager is there, he can do 25. If he's absent, he's out, the threshold then drops to 15.
Correct.
Unless he raises their ability, according to this paragraph.
Correct.
Okay. All right, and then down at the bottom of that page, category 2, category 3, these purchases would need 3 quotes, which I believe is our current policy. Is that not correct? Our current policy is 3 quotes.
Correct.
Okay, what is our policy on the threshold, the dollar threshold right now on the quotes?
I think it's up at 1,000. It has to be. I don't have it in front of me. Probably. It's 3, I think, at 1,000, and we bumped it to 2,500 to 5,000, and then 5,000 goes out for competitive bid.
Okay.
Just $1,000, Commissioner Lavin, is that it happens so easy that you're having to get 3 quotes all the time, and sometimes it's not. It slows you down the process.
No, I understand that. I'm not questioning that. I do understand that. I do understand that, the quote process, and you have to keep records of those quotes. I understand that. So you can show. Okay. Then on page 17, in the first paragraph there, Failure to turn in receipts may result in interest and penalty charges, which will be charged to the cardholder's budget. So that is the department head's budget or the department's budget?
So for example, on the credit cards, they're not put in a timely manner and we get interest or penalty for not, because what we do is we pay off that credit card every month. And if all the receipts aren't in, we can't pay it. So then we accrue interest. Then it's just, all that's saying is it's going to be charged to their department.
Okay, to their department. Okay, all right. Then under lost or stolen cards, again, it's going to the cardholder's budget will be charged, and that is the department. That's not the individual. That's going to like the utilities department or
Correct.
To
No,
CRA or wherever.
Right. Right. Nothing's to the person individually.
Okay. All right. Another thing that I wanted to see as part of our purchasing policy, and I've asked for this since I began here, is some sort of clause where we could make it a priority to purchase from local merchants that are in the city of High Springs. And I would like to see us be able to do something, not that we give them priority, but these people create jobs and pay taxes and have done so for years. And whether we make a more concerted effort to reach out to our local merchants and let them know we're going for bid. I really would like to see something in here showing that we would favor local merchants. And I'm not sure how to do that. Rich, Courtney had done some research on that back a while ago. And
we actually, and I'm sorry to, I think I can answer this question. We actually have looked at this a little bit. Subsequent to Courtney, there is some language that we think would be valid and is authorized under Florida statute. And I'm just going to read this out loud, and I'm sorry I don't have it in type for everybody to hear, but I'll just read it out loud and see if this is something that the commission would be interested in entertaining. But the section would be called Preference to Local Businesses, and it would say something along the following lines. The city of High Springs shall grant a 5% local vendor preference to any local city business or local county business which responds to an invitation to submit competitive sealed bids for the procurement of commodities, personal property, general services, professional services, or the purchase of or contract for construction or renovation of public works or improvements, except where federal or state law prohibits or mandates to the contrary. We could put something in that 5% threshold seems to be something that's supported by Florida statute, and I don't have the site in front of me, but that would be the type of policy that we would recommend if the commission would like something like that in this purchase policy. That would be the direction we would recommend.
How's that applied? Explain that to me in layman's language.
Yes, thank you.
That's what I was going to ask too.
Well, it's a 5%. It's basically if a local bidder comes in 5% higher than somebody else who's not a local bidder, then they would be on equal footing essentially in terms of their price. There's a 5% threshold preference given to local businesses. And of course, the language I read here, again, unfair to everyone because it's not in writing, but it actually is fairly broad in that it says local city business or local county business. And the preference may be to strike the local county business and just focus on the local city business.
If we're going to do that, I would prefer just doing the city. And I just want to make sure that, because I'm on this one here. So the local person could be 5% higher and still be considered the lower bid.
That is correct.
Okay. That's all you had to say from the get-go.
Sorry.
I would be in favor of limiting to local city businesses because they're paying taxes in our city and they're creating jobs. I think that a local preference for people that have businesses in High Springs would be very welcome by the business community.
I understand that. But I don't know. I guess because I myself have had a lot of experience in the contract business, and it still seems unfair to me for others who are trying to also make a living. I just have a problem with it.
I will comment that even though I think it's provision that is supportable by law, it certainly invites greater potential for a bid protest situation regardless. It doesn't necessarily mean that it'd be a successful bid protest, but it would certainly be something that the city would then have to address and
Right.
to do.
Let me ask you, Rich, along that same line. And I understand the sentiment, but I'm going to go along this one here. How long would it take for the message to get out to amongst all the contractors and so forth, type of deal, to where some just, they would not submit, knowing that, I mean, I don't know, I'm just curious, have you run into any of that, to where all of a sudden now you're not getting as many because of that 5%, people aren't bidding for something, and so you've lowered your amount of people putting in bids?
Candidly, I think among our municipal clients, I can't speak to Stark. I'd have to ask Clay Martin in our office on that. I actually believe of our 4 Alachua County municipal clients, I believe that only Micanopy has a provision similar to this. So speaking to only Micanopy, I haven't seen enough. I don't think I've seen enough bidding scenarios where I could make any conclusion one way or the other on that.
That was good legal speak, Rick.
And I would say this, that we've probably not had very much of that, to be honest. We do buy a lot local, but not by competitive bid. We have very few. I know the last ones that we've been doing, we've had no local people in the bidding process.
Ms. Mayor,
go ahead, Joel.
I was just going to say, we do look at local businesses, and if they have the commodity that we need for the services that are required by the city, we give them a look-see. We don't just arbitrarily look for something outside of the city. So if the city, we have limited resources here, but we also afford them an opportunity if they have the commodity that we need. And we look at that. We don't just arbitrarily pick the lowest bidder per se. There are people that do business in this city. And again, we have limited resources, and we try to help as much as we can.
Okay.
Anything else?
Let me ask you a question, Mr. Mayor, on this thing. Let's go back. I want to go back to the thing we were talking about, Jennifer, on the 25,000 and so forth. What type of checks and balances do we have in place to where somebody, a department couldn't spend? Where at what point do you have each department? Okay, so 5,000, right? Or even on this. What checks and balances is, I'm wondering, the city manager actually is aware of the spending that's going on before it's too late, if that makes sense.
No, it does. And, right now he sees everything over 500. And both myself and Grace make sure that he's aware of it. Jerlyn, who is his assistant, is also involved in it. And I talk to him, I know at least once a week probably, and we discuss, you know, where we are and stuff. But the fact of the matter is, I'm going to say this, and if you're a department head and you are abusing the purchasing policy or the purchasing of for the city of the citizens' money, then maybe you shouldn't be a department head. And I'm going to be honest. I did the purchasing policy and I was a little nervous about putting it forward, but you know, everybody that I work with is a responsible person. And I'm not saying that something like that isn't going to happen, but the second that purchase order comes to the department, because they can't approve it. So they can, yes, they can purchase it, but they can't approve it to get an invoice or anything. And there's steps that have to be done. You know, it's the PO process, it's the invoice process, it's the check process. And every one of those has checks and balances to people. So it's not like they.
Go ahead. I apologize. I interrupted. Go ahead.
No, I'm just saying that, you know, can they get away with it one time? Probably, but that's it.
So they have the authority to do it, but what you're telling me, they have the authority to do it, but the actual purchase, the actual purchase is not finalized until the city manager sees it, or you, the department head, can do it. Did I hear you right?
He can do it, but it isn't paid. It isn't processed. Of course, we would never do that to somebody. And we, actually, I run into this when I was at the city of Williston. We had a police chief that was overspent.
I remember that.
Yeah, and he no longer worked there, but you know, we are aware, we get, you know, not only do they have to turn it in, but we also review, we can see every purchase order that's sitting out there. So, I mean, in all honesty, I look at stuff more than the department heads probably want me to. But like I said, I feel that the people that are there are responsible. And like I said, if they're not, then they shouldn't be department heads.
Well,
And
I'm not questioning.
In a $10 million budget, $5,000, $10,000 is nothing.
I'm not questioning the integrity and so forth of people. I know them all personally. So this is no infringement on them. I'm talking solely from a procedural and process. And so you answered it. I could go out and I could make a purchase and get it, but before it's finalized and done, other people are seeing it. Now you may have to pay for it because of it, but it's come to your way. So whatever needs to be done would be done. It just wouldn't go get paid. And all of a sudden, 6 weeks later, a month, you know, you go, whoa, where did this thing come from? That's all I'm saying. I trust everybody, but you still need to have something in place. So if a citizen sit there now, you could tell them, yes, this is the process we have in place to make sure there isn't any fraud. There isn't any.
And Mr. Mayor, Commissioner Jameson, and you know, you've been a mayor, you know that when you go in and sign checks, the purchase orders are attached to them. And if they're not fully signed the way they should be, then they get kicked back so that they are. So again, it doesn't mean that it can't happen, but that's again, part of the checks and balances is to make sure the two people who sign that are checking the purchase orders.
Agreed. Thank you, Linda.
Another thing that we need to consider is it's not the staff we have now. We are blessed with the staff we have now, but we're doing this for the future. And I think the last time the purchasing policy was done was like 2001. Am I correct? And so, you know, who's going to be working here? I think Jenny's leaving us before then, before 20 years from now. So, you know, these are guidelines for going forward when there might be different staff, and it's a protectionary measure to make sure that we have policies in place.
And we do have the checks and balances. Jameson is, I'm telling you that
Okay.
well.
No, you don't
I'll
need any
use-
examples. I'm good. I mean,
Okay.
you don't need to, we don't need to go any further. I just wanted to make sure, because that was the question, the initial brought up. I just wanted to make sure that we
No.
spoke to the checks and balances that were in place to make sure things didn't happen.
I
I'm good.
understand. No, I
I'm
understand.
good.
I will say, from the city attorney's standpoint, we are excited if some version of this type of purchasing policy is ultimately adopted by the commission. To Commissioner Lavin's comment, the purchasing policy currently in effect was adopted by resolution in 2013, but prior to that, I don't think it had been updated since 2001. The resolution from 2013 in and of itself sets forth the entire purchasing policy for the city of High Springs. And it's about, just to give you an idea, it's about 10 numbered paragraphs, 11 paragraphs long compared to a 26-page document that has just a lot more meat on the bones in terms of the details and procedures and that are written out and in front of us. So we, from the legal standpoint, we feel very comfortable with the document itself. I think it's just a matter of, where the commission stands in terms of the dollar thresholds and things of that nature.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Anyone else? Any other comments on the resolution?
I will make a motion that we approve resolution 2020-G with the modifications that Commissioner Lavin asked for as far as clarification between the Director of Finance and the city manager or his or her designee as it stands.
Motion, yes, second.
Thinking here, man.
Was that a second, Commissioner Jameson? Commissioner Jameson, that was a second.
Yeah. So what was the caveat on that?
If I approved or I made a motion to approve it, including the clarifications that Commissioner Lavin had some issues with, and our attorney, Rich, said that he could clarify that a little bit better. Those were the ones.
Oh, the
that
designee part.
Yes,
Right.
And I would also assume, Commissioner Jones, you're also referring to the provision where we would write in the record keeping would be in accordance with the public record.
Oh, yes, yes.
Right.
That, yeah.
So I think those would be the two major clarifications to make.
Yes.
You got it, Commissioner James?
I'm thinking, man.
I see. I'm trying to find the paragraph, but I can't find it. I can't know it there.
I'm conflicted on, I'll be honest with you, I'm conflicted a little bit on the 5% thing. I understand it, but then I'm also trying to figure out that the process and you get a grievance on the deal and how that works. I understand it. But I'm also thinking
that was not the question, right? I mean, I didn't include the 5%.
No, you didn't. No. That's
okay.
My question is whether or not on the deal. No, you're fine, Linda, on the deal.
Okay.
I'm just sort of, because I want to, to me, I think that's an important type of deal.
I think that Personally, I think that we need to send a message to our businesses that we support them and we appreciate them. And I think that the very little that might cost over a year is an important validation that we appreciate our businesses. And so I am very much in support of that.
How soon we gotta do this?
Question is,
Go ahead, Byron.
Jennifer, so have there been many incidents where we had a problem with using local businesses? Because I'm quite sure there's some stuff that local businesses just don't have that we need. So we have been an incidents where we have not just used local business because it was too high.
Yeah, we don't. We use like the locals like Ace and, you know, the local True Value and all that. But as far as actually bidding out, and Jenny, we didn't have any for the door swipe either, did we?
No, we didn't know.
No, I mean, we've not had local people in the bidding process. I mean, because the
Except for
utility
AC.
for AC, that would be, yes, you're right. That would be about the only one is, and we usually pick local for that anyway, you know, and usually it is somebody local, but most of it's utilities and that, you know, that's, y'all know that's specialized and, you know, we get people from Ocala, Jacksonville and all that because it is specialized. But like Jenny said, it's, you know, air conditioning, something like that.
Yeah, and that's basically what pretty much happened in this area. AC, I don't know if it happened in Columbus here or not. No collar dealerships. I'm trying to think of items that would be. I don't know. I just don't see it's been an issue myself. But we do try to use the local businesses. Ace, Jim Douglas.
Yes.
Well, Ed is not in the city limits, but I seen stuff where we use Eddie, Southern. I don't know if we still use Southern or not because it's so high. City Boys.
Yeah.
We use local businesses. We use local businesses. It's not too many other businesses in the city of Hot Spring that we can use through the city. I don't know. I just don't see that's been an issue myself.
How many businesses in it? Because I couldn't hear everything you said there. How many businesses within the city of High Springs, and I apologize for not knowing this, which fit into this bid process? We're not talking about $100. We're talking major. So what, I mean, how many businesses? Anybody have an idea?
As, I don't know if you heard, but as Jenny was saying, the only thing we can think of is air conditioning, and we do use local for air conditioning.
And we buy lawnmowers from True Value and
Yes,
sometimes.
that's right. We do.
I mean, we use electrical contractors locally. We use HVAC contractors locally. So there's some roofing contractors locally we've used.
Bid process, Bruce, for bid process or just in general?
In general, I mean, we shop as much local as we can. I can tell you with our internal controls, the way they are, it really favors local businesses at this point. And this purchasing policy is just going to allow us to use local businesses even more with some of the latitude that we're going to have in it. Because of the relationships.
Okay. If that's the case, what you're basically saying, then 5% really won't come into play.
Not very often. Maybe, I'm thinking maybe 1 year.
Okay.
If that.
So in that case, I would, if you're telling me that, then I could go along. I mean, I could probably go along with that simply because I don't want this to drive companies away to where if we had enough to where all of a sudden they go, well, why bid? Because the locals have got it. If it's not that prevalent, if what you're telling me is not that prevalent, then why wouldn't you want to benefit that 1 or 2 a year? It doesn't have any major impact on our purchasing. Is that what you're telling me?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm not going to second that.
Okay, let's figure out what motion we got on the floor right now. But so, Commissioner Lappin, you pretty much making the motion to approve the purchase order with the differences with, I lost my spot already. With paragraph.
It was the language that
under chapter
Commissioner
one.
Lavin wanted, as far as clarification as to the city managers, designees, and also to, what was the other one, Rich?
To include the reference to the public records laws.
Right. And that's my motion.
Yeah, that's Commissioner Jones's motion on the table, and I'm not sure if there is a second to that motion.
No, there's not.
It's not. We have a motion, need a second.
Is there a time frame on this?
No.
It appears to me if nobody's willing to doing this, then maybe what we need is be able to look at this and give it some more due consideration and bring it back to the next one. 2 more weeks ain't gonna matter.
Okay, I'm on vacation the next one, so we'll have to do it unless you, which y'all can do without me.
Well, hopefully we've all got our questions, but I want to look into this, to be honest with you. I see both sides. I see exactly what Linda's saying. And my first thought was that, but then I also say, if you're telling me if it's one business or 2 businesses, you're not really impacting the process. I would like to at least read the thing a little bit more thoroughly and be confident. And then I would like to hear some, from the other commissioners. 2 weeks, a month isn't going to make a difference on the deal. And I want to make sure we get it right.
No, and we were shooting, for it to be in effect for next year, but
Okay.
well, even by the end of this year, for part of this that nobody's talked about is the capital outlay. So we're jumping from 1,000 to 5,000 for actually depreciation. And our auditors really, really like that, because when you have to do everything from 1,000 on up, your list is very long. When you have to do everything from 5,000 on up, and that's
Right.
that's the norm. So if we could just get this, a month from now is fine. If we get it approved just by the end of the fiscal year, that would be fine.
Okay. Can we put it on for the next meeting? And I'm hoping everybody would have their, set on it. It'll give me time to basically read it again and so forth.
If there's questions, I just won't be there. That's all, which is fine. Or we can do it in a month.
I think we need to wait for you. I think it should be a month.
That's
my opinion.
Okay, so I'll make a move that we table this and put it on the, whatever date that would be.
Would that be the August 13th meeting?
August 28th,
27th?
27th.
Okay.
But I want to point out, we had a motion on the floor that died for lack of second.
Right.
Correct. And so if we do it then, you would have enough time to get the second reading in and have it in place.
It doesn't require second reading.
Okay, so you would have it. Yeah, so that's good. August, that'd be good.
Okay. So the motion down for lack of a second.
Not the first time.
Okay, moving on to the city attorney report.
Can't hear you, buddy.
I
I
think,
need clarification.
I think it's the city attorney report, and one reason you can't hear
Yes,
me,
ma'am.
have anything to report.
Hold on.
I can't hear Byron. Byron is going in and out for me.
Me too. I need for clarification on the resolution. There was a motion to table it, but was there a second? And a vote on that?
I'll
I don't think
second.
we did. This thing cutting out for some reason, Jenny.
I don't know if there was a vote, Jenny.
I'll second the motion to table it.
Okay, we got a motion and a second to table. I'm sorry. Can you all hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, all right. So, all in favor of the motion to table, let me know by saying aye.
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 All opposed, same sign. Motion carries by mistake. Okay, so Rich, you didn't have anything. I thought we lost Rich. Okay, Mr. City Manager,
No, sir, I don't have anything.
say again, sir.
No, sir.
Okay. Commissioner Jones?
No, I don't have anything. Thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Love?
Did you say my name, Mayor Williams?
Yes, I did.
No, I
Yes.
don't have anything. I'm sorry, it was muffled. I didn't understand you.
Okay. Commissioner Jameson?
I'm good, sir.
Commissioner, good. All right. Vice Mayor?
I'm being quiet tonight. I got a mouthful of Novocaine, so I'm not doing good tonight.
Okay. No, we'll let you keep your mouth closed tonight. Then.
Okay.
Okay. I don't have anything. If there's nothing else to come, yes, ma'am.
Mr. Mayor?
Jen, you hold your hand up?
Yes, sir. I just wanted to let you know that qualifying week has ended. And we had 3 people qualify for seat number 1 and 3 people qualified for seat number 2. And I sent you all an email to give you those names.
Okay. So the qualifying period is over?
Yes, sir. It's over.
I don't know if it's me. It's over. Okay. That's a big delay in this thing tonight. That's Scott's fault, not Scott's fault, but Scott Jameson's fault. All right, if there's nothing else coming, you're what? Yes, sir. You. There's nothing coming.
I move that we adjourn.
Thank you, ma'am. Meeting adjourned. Y'all have a blessed night and be safe.
Thank you.